Welcome everybody to the final episode of Gringos Liberados. For this split, we'll be back next split, but for now we've got one final episode to wrap on up what has been a glorious 2023. My name is Rudude, I'm joined by 4x4 RMC and Axeman, an OG cast for this final episode. Gentlemen, top to bottom, how are we doing?
Good. I'm chilling. I coming back from Brazil. I basically decided to take this whole week off, so I've been doing the absolute bare minimum life-wise. Today, I decided to do real human being things. But up until today, I have been playing disrespectful amounts of World of Warcraft. And I started the new TFT set. It's been going well, but
Okay.
at the time of recording, we are still like a couple hours out from them putting out what should be a pretty hefty Bilgewater nerf because that trade is a little silly right now. Some of you know what I'm talking about, some of you don't, but that's okay. And so once that micro patch goes live, I will be right back sinking my teeth in a new TFT set. I will get back to Diamond this set, and I think I can climb higher. So we'll see.
All right, RMC, any big life updates for yourself? This is a good time to
Not
share it,
really.
honestly.
Right now I'm still I think I've just finished my end of the loud mega doc that I prepare for international events. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's at 29 pages. So yeah, you can imagine I've just been in that
Light
hole
work.
for a while.
Light work. Axeman, any Diamond TFT shenanigans? Any loud mega docs?
Definitely not diamond. No mega donks. I've been struggling to put into words how I've felt this offseason because it's been really weird. But I had a conversation with another caster based in NA out here, and she was saying how she's glad she's getting back into the space and getting to cast again because it made her feel more human. And I had never not connected with something more because casting, I was telling her, makes me feel too human. So I've been very excited to be in Goblin mode the last couple weeks. I'm just
Yeah.
nothing's getting done. I'm not doing any of the things I should
Yeah.
be doing.
I think you put it great. This week I have been in Goblin mode.
Yeah.
I've cooked actual food and socialized with
Yeah.
Caroline, my wife, but that's it. Otherwise, I've been in these four walls. I've gone outside. Have I gone outside? I don't think I've gone outside this week.
Nope.
I don't think
Forgot what the sun looks like.
since I no.
Everything's
Wow, that's yeah, okay. That's how my week is going. Since getting back from Brazil, I got back after a bunch of travel delays. I into my bed at 5:30 a.m. Monday morning. Since then, I have not gone back outside. It's been 5 days.
Alright, before I was going for a
So-
walk after this podcast.
Yeah,
No, he's not.
And-
He's going
and
right back
and
to
I
TFT.
ordered and I ordered a one of those treadmills that you put under your desk
Yeah?
because I was like, well, I should go outside. I should
Nice.
go for a walk,
Nice.
but I could just walk here. I don't have to go outside.
So
Get the
how many times have you
hamstring
used it
workout.
4x4 since you got it?
Well, I ordered it this morning, so it should be
Oh,
here.
okay.
It should be here on Monday. So I'll let you
Be
know.
here soon.
Alright, so outside of the disgraceful Goblin mode that the casters have been in during off season, everybody's doing fairly well. Yeah, I mean, I've been working as well. Casting is good for a certain time, but we got to have bills coming in post casting too. So
Yeah, really.
we got to run a show to stick to. Best place to start for this episode, I think, is a grand finals look back. Loud versus Pain.
Do we have to?
The result, it was 3-1 to Loud. It wasn't 12-0.
game.
It's not RMC's
True,
worst
true.
nightmare of a 12-0. But Loud did come away with it, and I think looked very strong doing so. I'll open the floor. I think we'll start with RMC for general thoughts around finals.
I mean, like you said, at least it wasn't a 12-0. I think, honestly, most of the Pain fans, we just really didn't want to get 3-0'd. We didn't expect to win. And I think Belgium came out and said they had like a 75% win rate in scrims leading up to grand finals. So Loud was heavily favored. It is what it is. For CBLOL, I'm glad that we are sending Loud if they're that strong. I don't think Loud was tested at all through the grand finals or throughout the entire playoffs. So, yeah, from a CBLOL perspective, yay. From a Pain perspective, oh well.
A little bit of
Almost used to it
nay.
now.
4-4. This you're probably the best pressed to answer this. How was finals in Brazil?
Dude, literally, so that was my first in-person esports event working. I've been as a spectator, but working, that was my first in-person esports event. I've done in-person broadcasts for traditional sports many times, but never to a crowd that bit. Technically, I did a student college football game in front of 20,000, but I was in a booth. I was protected.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
being And so that's what I kind of joke with my mom. Like, it was, again, my mom's Brazilian, my dad's American. I was like, yeah, I get to do like, my first broadcast in front of like 10,000 people, but it's Brazilian, so it's gonna feel like 20,000. But it's gonna be Northeasterners, so it's gonna feel like 30,000. And like that was like the vibe, and like from kind of an off the rip perspective, like that was the vibe that I got from everybody. Was like the Northeast, they are an incredibly passionate people, and like because events don't come up there as often, right? It's like if you were to go to like, you know, I don't even know. It's a more rural, less densely populated part of the country, right? So like, the
Yeah.
big events, it'd be like if you held like a grand finals for the LCS in like Kansas City,
Salt
right?
Lake City.
Yeah,
Nebraska.
You could say it. You could say
Salt
it.
Lake City, exactly, right? Like very passionate people, right? But just about
Well,
different things. Well, again,
yeah.
you have to put the right things. Salt Lake City. It's college football and Mormonism. Like that's it.
Yeah. Where passion goes to die. Yeah.
Hey, you guys have a great choir out there too, right?
Something like that, I guess.
But like, what was also said was like, because most of the things are in like Porto Alegre, which is in the south of the country, São Paulo's in the south of the country, Rio's in the south of the country, and it's everything's closer. So like, but there were people. I mean, I was broadcasting with Juge, right, 2-time champion, once with Pain in 2015, and once in 2017, split one when they won in Recife. There were so many people coming up to get. I was gonna say our photos, not true. His photos. I was just there. That just so one person did ask to get a photo with me, which was very, very nice. That's like I got one
Nice.
person, which honestly that was good enough for me. But
Did you sign anything?
no,
No? Okay.
no, unfortunately.
I gotcha,
But
I
they were
gotcha.
like all these people said, I was here the last time you won, Juge. I was here. Like it wasn't at this building, it was a smaller building, but like I was here when you won. And like they're a more appreciative people of this kind of stuff because like if you live in the south of the country, if you miss one grand finals, you'd be like, I'll go next split.
Mm-hmm.
If you miss, or
Yeah.
like you can just go to the studio and watch, right? Everything is just much closer together. And so like they showed up, like it was so loud, but it was unbelievable. But I will, and here I will say, it was like a 50-50 split kind of fans wise, but undoubtedly when something good happened for Pain, the stadium was louder. The Pain fans cheered louder. They because you could just tell how much it meant to them, right? Everything,
Yeah.
like because sometimes I'd like doze off. I'd like go on my phone for a little bit, like check Twitter or whatever, right? And I would look up if I'd hear a little bit of a cheer, I'd be like, oh, loud, Robo killed somebody again, right? If I heard the stadium explode, it was like, oh shit, here comes Weiser. Like I didn't have to look up. Like that was my big takeaway. But it was. You just knew, right? The Pain fans, I will give them that. They're unbelievable. And my kind of on the riff takeaway before I pass it to Axeman, I think this Pain squad, as will kind of a lot of these teams, be it Los Grandes, be it, maybe like this early iteration of Flukes, but mostly this Pain squad, for an American sports reference, it'll be like all the teams that were good in the 1990s. A lot of them are forgotten because they played at the same time as Michael Jordan. So they didn't win anything.
Yeah.
I think this Pain team really, really strong. And again, it wasn't like them just beating their heads against the wall. They cycled lineups. This split, they were playing. We were so excited. Like when they finally beat Loud, and they were playing good, proactive, like great macro League of Legends. They were playing really good League of Legends, but they didn't get it done in the end. And I think this lineup will go down in history as one of those. Again, the further you get from it, and the less raw it gets. RMC for you and the rest of the Pain fans, you'll look back and say, "Damn, if it was any other team other than Loud, we would have won every single one of those." Right? Like so many
100%.
teams will just lost to history because they decided to exist. They had the audacity to show up at the same time as this lineup for Loud.
Yeah. If you ain't first, you're last, I guess.
Mhm.
There. My thoughts on finals. I think it was rude. I'm not sure if it was episode 13 or 12. I think we were on the same one together, but you said something like the worst.
Oh, the 3-1 was
thing
the
that
worst
could happen.
outcome.
A 3-1 was the worst
Yeah.
outcome, and I definitely felt that a little bit. Like as a Loud fan, I was like, yeah, the Big 12-0, super dominant for Loud. Let's make it happen. It'd be a cool story. But when Pain won, it did feel good. It felt pretty good. I think it's a nice marker that there's still iron in Brazil to sharpen Loud with, and maybe it's at least some indication that Loud are a little bit sharper than they were the last two international competitions. But that said, yeah, I missed that 3-0, man. That would have been cool. That would have been really, really cool. And obviously, if it went to 5 games, that would have been great too. But it just didn't. And
So
that's okay with
I
me.
wanna ask a general question because we got to do this whole split. A takeaway that I can see the wider population having is that Brazil are a one-team region. We watched the whole of regular season. We also watched playoffs. Where do we land on that takeaway?
I think, how would we define a one-team region?
LJL.
Oh no, no.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna do that, and I knew RMC was gonna do that.
Yeah. We're
We're
very divided on what LJL is.
We will have words after this, Axe, about the LJ.
we can have words.
We may as
No,
well fire
I
it.
said it. I can't remember the episode, but I've said it before on this podcast. I don't want Robo and Tenons to be what's his name, Utapon. I just don't want it to be that.
Mhm.
And I don't. Sorry, I'm like taking the lead on this.
You're good. You're good.
I didn't want my biggest problem with the three-peat, as big and exciting as it is, because it's so exciting in like traditional sports in America when stuff like this happens. The three-peat is so cool, and it's like the true mark of dominance, right? It's almost like the highest.
Because you've done it for more than a
team-
year at this point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And also,
'cause then you have a
literally no one has ever
dynasty.
done this.
Yeah,
Brazil.
and everything's it's very, very exciting. So we were all on board for the 3P. My only problem with it was is that if you're coming at Brazil from the outside and you're just seeing this minor region and it's the same team that's coming out again, just like DFM and
ESG Talon.
the Marines.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the GAM?
Gam.
Yeah,
So they
Gam.
are not the Gigabyte Marines. They are Gam.
not the Marines. And then Buffalo, I think, whatever that one is.
Buffalo
It's just
didn't
always
qualify
the
this
same
year.
team, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's not that at all. I don't think we're a one-team region, and honestly, I don't know if Loud can continue this level of dominance after this Worlds. That's something we haven't really talked about. Is where does Loud stand after? Like, is there a four-peat? Do they just keep going?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if they can keep it up for this long. From my point of view, if I'm Robo or Tenons, I three-peat and I'm gone. I'm out. Like that's how can we do more than that? Right?
All right, we're
contract.
gonna. This is a good conversation to have. So we'll jig things
Yeah.
around a little bit. I think it depends how they do in Worlds. So for those that don't know, before we started this podcast, we put a tweet out. If you have Twitter questions, to submit them. We've got a couple that we're going to do a little bit later on, but this is one of the questions that we received earlier on over on twitter/x.com, which was, and I'm going to find the specific person because we're nice enough and we'll shout people out with regard to how people are going to do at Worlds. He says as he looks. So at BR Barbarutus, do you guys think Brazil will go far on Worlds? And this stems back to your point, Axeman, because if Loud do well, I don't think Loud's long-term commitment is going to be to the CBLOL, but to their international success and how they can develop that. If Loud do poorly, then it's we've tried it with this roster-ish 3 times and it's not working internationally.
Yeah, that's not ish. That's you tried it with this roster.
Well, they swapped route, right? They swapped route and Brunsey, so
sure.
That's where the ish. But like you've tried it with this roster 2/3 times. We need to make bigger changes for us to see bigger success internationally, because Loud aren't just a Brazil region in other titles either, right? They do well at VCT. They were like Valorant champs a year ago
Literal
or something.
world champions.
Yeah, like their goals aren't set on making it to Swiss stages this time. I think that if Loud do well in Worlds this split this year, then they will keep the same roster and they can go back and dominate again. Oh, cool, I got my 4th CBLOL title. The aspirations just get bigger.
Yeah, I mean, this year alone,
think
they're going to
makes
Worlds in League, Valorant, and Free Fire. Like they're just running like all their teams
Good
are
pull.
popping off. Yeah, and I think going back to your original question, Rude, I actually do think CBLOL this split has been a one-team region. Going back, I think one thing that we've lost track of is the growth of Loud. If you think back to 2022 split 2, they weren't the favorites. Like they won, but it was heavily contested. Like there were a lot of teams and a lot of people going, even if Loud goes, maybe they're not the best team.
Because
right?
this
And
was
then
off
last
of the 7th place dodgy tiebreaker ruling, right?
Yes, the
split
first time that
after.
Robo has
Yeah.
not made playoffs since he debuted in CBLOL. Like
Insane.
it was insane. Loud then wasn't that strong. Brunsey was popping off and carrying off games even when Robo and Tinons weren't necessarily performing at the highest level. Then last split, Root coming in, there were questions as well. Root's good, right? We know that. But Loud wasn't like far and away the best team. And then we come to this split, and they truly were. Like everybody in playoffs was like crapping their pants, going, "Ah, colossal
Yeah.
ruin, right? Like the bad things here. Like
Mhm.
we don't want to have to match up against them." Even the grand finals, like there was that interview that somebody did where they polled like 20 different people. Everybody had Loud wins, right? Coming
Yeah.
through. Anybody who was doing Pain win was just more like a Pain fan or hoping for some sort of upset. So I think this split, it truly was a one team region. And that interests me as to what's going to happen next split as well, because now the goal isn't to perform well at Worlds if you're not Loud. The goal is to beat Loud first, and then we worry about Worlds later. Loud is the only team that, as you're talking about, Rude, is looking forward beyond just the regional domestic sort of league.
Because I also think Loud's a one team, or we were this split a one team region. For a bit more context, Loud since week 6 lost one game, I think, or maybe
Yeah,
like, I don't know how many
this is
playoffs games they lost, but they lost
They
versus
lost
Pain.
two in the playoffs.
So 2 playoffs games. They've lost 2 games
Yep.
since week 6. They went 6-0 at the
Regular
back.
season and playoffs.
Yeah, like that's kind of crazy. That's the level of form you strive for, and you lose one game in a best of 5, you still win it 3-1. You're comfy, you're cozy. They were never in situations where it's like, ooh, 1-0 to the other team that's not Loud. It's comfort for them. And as much as that pains a little bit for CBLOL, to say that Loud were one team, and they weren't first in regular season, right? They had like the sticky start, which made them finish not first, whatever it was. But
Third, if you can
third,
believe it.
yeah.
Yeah, still, despite that terrible run they had in the beginning, yeah. They finished third.
So I do think Loud are our one team for this region this time around.
I just want to add to, like, Robo has said in interviews before, he doesn't care about regular season. Like, he's limit testing for most of regular season, which is why if you look at Loud, generally week 7 is when they start to actually play the game. In week 7, they start to win because that's when they like, okay, we just got to make top 4. They don't care which seed they are in the top 4
Yeah.
as long as they're in the top 4. And then playoffs, you see them pop off. This playoffs in specific, though, what terrifies me is I don't think we even got to see Loud push. Like all their wins have been incredibly clean. They're just out handsing most of their opponent. So they are just slightly faster to all the plays, which is good macro. But we, besides like sort of the Xerath in the mid lane, I don't feel like we've seen a lot of the strategies that I'm sure Loud has prepared. And that's both good and bad because they'll catch teams off guard at Worlds, hopefully. They've got more in their back pocket. But at the same time, what happens when they aren't dominating in the game? Do they know how to play against a team that's as good as they are or better?
No, exactly. I think like you have more in your back pocket, sure, and like that can work, but it can also look really, really bad when it's not again. Like again, combining that like that fear factor that a lot of teams had against Loud in Brazil. When something gets, if I'm X team and I'm like, okay, here we go, this is a big test. Like no team, like and Loud pull something out of their back pocket, I think I'm more likely to react adversely to it because I'm just like, shit, they know something we don't. Whereas no other team views Loud like that internationally, except for maybe some teams, but like again, Brazil expects to get to a higher level. We expect to at this stage get to at least that best of 5.
So
I think, broadly
then
speaking, that would be the benchmark.
let's answer this question: how well do we think Loud are going to do at Worlds this split?
All right, let's
Oh,
pull the
this
bracket.
year.
I wanna start first
Okay.
by like
Yeah.
framing this question a little bit better. If we remove Loud from this question real quick, just so we get the framing correct, how well does a team do at Worlds? I think the best you could do at Worlds is winning Worlds. And if once we take that framing and plug Loud back in, the answer is not very well.
How well
and
does
I-
CBLOL
I
do at
don't-
Worlds is a different question.
I don't think that's necessarily the question this person is asking. I think they're asking, are we going to do better at Worlds than we have been doing? Are we going to have a better result? And the answer to that question, the way that's framed, is I think yes. I think that we are a better team. I think from a better region this Worlds than we were last year. I also think that the format benefits us a little bit more, and I think our placement on the bracket is pretty blessed.
Oh,
for
I
most
disagree
points.
with that actually.
So I think we're pretty well set up.
I actually think we got the hard side of the bracket. So,
Okay.
for those
So
that
we clarify the brackets first. Who's on
yeah,
which side?
that's we can
Okay.
do that. So on
Yeah. So
Loud's got on RMC, you're good.
I was just gonna list out the brackets. We're on Group A, the bracket where we've got Loud as CBLOL representatives. We've got GAM, who's first seed coming out of Vietnam. We've got R7, who's the LATAM or LLA representative, and we've got PSG first seed coming out of the PCS. On the other side of the bracket, it's going to be the winner of either BDS or Golden Guardians facing off as the fourth seed from UNA. We've got Team Whale, which is the Vietnamese
Second seed.
second seed.
Yeah.
Yep. DFM, Japan's representative, and CFO, the second seed from the PCS.
The
So
Flying
we get
Oysters
to
are
see-
back, baby.
They are. We've got first seeds on our sides, and the first and after the group stages, first seed from Group A will face second seed from Group B, and vice versa. Group B's first seed will face
Yeah.
Group A's second seed.
And I think that is where, if you are a BR optimist about our format, I think that's where you're an optimist, because I think our group is, our group is tricky. It includes, look,
Our
GAM, you
group
can
is
never
harder.
count.
Period.
Yes, you can never count GAM out, because that's the thing. Like pool one, the PCS 1 and 2 seeds were pool 1. That is like, if you to have a truly blessed group, you needed to flip CFO and PSG Talon. PSG Talon are not the Flying. All respect to the Flying Oysters. PSG is good. Maple's still there. He's really Junja. It's Maple and and they got Corgi still coaching. Junja was the backup for the EDG team that won Worlds.
Period. We got the first seed from VCS. We got the first seed from PCS. So we have the top seeds in our group.
The only bullet that we dodged, if you will, was like, if we win our group, we in all likelihood will not have to play a major region 4th seed in the best of 5, assuming they win their group, right? But we have to, because if we win our group, then we've got the leftovers of Team Wales, DFM, CFO, the EUNA winner. That's blessed. That is winnable. But we have to win our group, and that is tough.
So what I'm hearing for is that, as far as you're concerned, just win for it, right? Like that's the Brazilian way out.
Because so the teams, I look at this play-in bracket and I look at the teams that I don't think that I think the teams that are going to be difficult are PSG, and that's where it ends. I think we beat BDS GG quite easily, honestly.
Wow.
I'm just gonna put that out there. I think that GG BDS is a walk in the park.
Wow.
Maybe Team Wales difficult. Probably not. DFM, no. CFO, also no. And then I think we're going to slam GAM, honestly. I think the VCS has been underperforming internationally for a long time, and people are still high on the fact that they did well ages ago, but have gone really badly at a lot of tournaments since. I think our difficult matchup is PSG, and we're not going to play them, so...
I'm good with that.
I mean, we would on our side of the bracket. If we win our best of 3.
Oh yeah. Okay, so like I said, that's where I think it gets difficult. Is that we may well lose that best of 3, and then we just play a Mickey Mouse team after that and win, go through.
I think if you were to power rank all the teams,
Loud number 2, baby.
Wow, that's aggressively not where I was going to put them. I would say 3 or 4, and I think if nothing else, we are the best of the pool 2 teams. I think that
so far ahead of the rest of the pool 2 teams.
I think that you could be confident in saying. GAM, look, it's still GAM. It's still
nope. Snooze.
It's still Levi. These guys have international experience. Yes, so do we. But like, look, I think, if I was to power rank them, I think GG BDS, and this is not just me being an NA homer here. I think GG are better than BDS. So I would say Golden Guardians number 1. Yeah. They looked good at MSI. I think they are the best team out of these 8/9. I would put PSG Talon number 2, BDS 3, and then Loud GAM kind of 4 or 5. That's where I would put them. I think I do agree with Rude in the fact that the VCS is not what it used to be, but this is still a really good team.
Let me start on my power rankings by putting Loud at number 1. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Second, I rank GG pretty high. I would put GG at number 2. Was very scared of them, and honestly, avoiding them was the reason I said we had the good part of the bracket.
That's the thing.
PSG is very strong.
PSG is really fucking good.
PSG destroyed us at MSI. They slammed us at MSI. No doubt.
They did slam us at MSI. Anytime we can avoid PSG, I think it's a good thing. But and I will admit, I would have wanted DFM on our side of the bracket. I don't know enough about Team Whale or CFO to say either way, but for me, it was just like, oh, thank God we dodged the major region teams finally. That's just how I characterize it. Was finally we get to play Worlds plans and we dodge these major region teams. But yeah, they're fourth seeds. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rating them too high.
This does, to your point, Axe, feel like a play-in stage because there aren't.
Yeah,
Because it's not. Oh,
Yeah.
well,
not the
China and
Mickey
Korea
Mouse
get
Cup,
their
and
fourth
then-
seeds in
yeah,
for free, and then
you've
there's
got the
two
pleasure
spots
of
left.
getting deep dicked by RNG.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's
and
not-
to be clear, when there's plans for things like the World Cup and stuff, Lao or whatever doesn't have to play against Brazil to get in. You know, like, there's no
Yeah.
friggin' that's not what a play-in is.
You're not putting up Ukraine against like 2014 Germany.
Mhm.
Yeah, Germany or something. It's
Prime
just-
Barcelona.
yeah.
It's just not the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, let's not kid ourselves here.
So to
Yeah.
answer that person's question, I think we're all so. Quick yes no answer. Do we make it to Swiss stage? I'm starting yes.
Yes.
RMC
Yes.
4-4.
Oh God.
The Brazilian native. Are you going to be the
Are you gonna be
naysayer?
the Brazil hater, dude?
Like, do I think we get to Swiss?
Hmm.
Yes.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like this, a
Oh,
lot
man.
has to go right. I think we could. I think
Get in
it's
the
50-50.
comments.
I
Get in the
didn't.
comments.
Okay, I didn't really talk about it earlier when you guys were power ranking.
Right.
Yeah.
To shield myself from the internet, I'll say yes.
Well,
Nice.
just know that
I
4x4 thinks no.
understand where 4x4 is coming from. Like, that's why I'm hesitating too.
This is
because I
hard,
do
dude.
think This play-ins to me is actually one of the best play-ins we've had in recent years, right? Like, it's
It is. It has
actually
to be.
really incredibly balanced, and that's why like I'm hesitating. Can Loud make it out? Yeah, it's probably our best chance to. Honestly,
Yes.
that I've seen.
Yeah.
I think ever.
Look,
So
You've got to beat
definitely
PSG in a best of 3. If you don't beat PSG, you've got to take on Golden Guardians or BDS.
Oh, hold. Disagree. If you
They might
think
not, yeah.
GGBDS aren't making the full upper bracket sweep on that side, you're clowning.
That's why
I
if we
agree.
lose,
I agree,
to
but that's what I'm
PSG,
saying.
we
Like,
have to
it's
face
that PSG match, dude. And like you said, they clowned on us. This same lineup, not 3 months ago. That's why I'm worried.
Oh,
Because
I
if we
understand. Okay.
If we lose to PSG, which again, all respect, I think is more likely than not, that is a good team. That is a veteran, experienced team over there. Junja and Maple have done the damn thing for a long, long time. If we lose that best of 3 to them, we've got to play Golden Guardian / BDS.
That's one of the reasons why I think we will make it. Maple, it was Yubao who was playing for them at MSI. Maple at the time was, I think, with TSM. I want to say.
I think he took us. Was that
Did he
last
take a
split?
split? That's what I want to say, but I might be.
Wow, that was already last. That feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah, no, it was
the
last, but he was still with TSM, so that's right. So it's with Yubao in the mid lane. I do think Maple's actually better, so I do think they have an upgrade.
Maple's so
But
good, dude.
I do think that Loud has been preparing a long time for this. We heard Croc say, Croc has been very vocal about this. He wants to face PSG Talon again.
Mhm.
And considering the force that Croc was in our playoffs, it feels like if Croc is prepared and he's really ready to go up against Junja, like I
That's an
think
if,
that
though.
Loud will win.
That's
It
the
is
thing,
an if.
like no. If
but-
we played our ceiling, I think we can. We just every time we BR something up, we rise top something up, we don't buy jungle items something up, like something happens. Like
There's the
Yeah.
trauma I've come to know and love this
that's
split.
that's what you've got to shield against. And the best version of Loud, I think, beats. The best version of Loud could very easily be the best version of PSG.
Yep.
Brazilian
Mhm.
teams have not shown up their best internationally, but I think this is our best shot.
Yep.
Mhm.
Do we have any final thoughts about Worlds, about play-ins, predictions, theories, conversations?
Yeah, I got 2 things.
Go.
One thing I think we do better than any other region in the world is hop off of planes and play League of Legends. That was something that I really paid attention to last year when they were doing plans, because there was a bunch of like flight issues with different teams. And something that we did really well was just like get off a plane and play, and a lot of other teams couldn't do that. And I think that's something that's worth paying attention to moving forward into it.
I sure hope
second-
not, but yes, carry on.
Yeah, I sure hope that they don't. Like,
I sure
use the
hope,
flight
right,
and
with
have to
the
hop
whole
off and play.
month that they have to sort this out, can logistic a team to Korea, please.
Sure, but hey, if they don't, I think that's something that works in our favor. It certainly did with Fnatic last year. But also, yeah, just to double down on the format, this is so much better. And if anybody from Riot is listening, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this
Good
is
job.
so much better. We
And
could lose every
and as
game,
what
every
and as
game at
Western
Worlds, God
fans,
forbid, and I would
ag-
still feel good about this bracket. It's so good.
and again as Western fans, whoever orchestrated that fourth place best of 5 EUNA, like, look,
Hats
I'm gonna
off.
be up at it's 3 a.m. for RMC. I think it's 6 a.m. for me for the loud games. I'm gonna be in my Brazil jersey. I'm gonna be screaming at a screen. I'm gonna be if like I'm gonna be all in. You will never see me, American viewers. You'll know what I'm talking about here. You will never see me more Republican than when I watch that Golden Guardians versus BDS game. I'm gonna be the most patriotic mother effer
These
you have
colors don't
ever
run,
seen.
son. Yeah.
Give me freedom or give me death. Don't tread on me, you commie bastards. I'm going to
USA,
be
USA,
insufferable during
USA.
that Golden Guardian series. Next point.
Oh,
Thank you for listening to the podcast around the Brazilian League of Legends. That was our segment where we joke about how much we love America.
I am, yes. I am as Brazilian as I am American, man.
That's good. No, that's fine.
true. That's true.
I think that rounds
Um,
out our discussion fine. To which we will move on to lighter topics, maybe more solemn topics a little bit. We're going to do the Pain Gaming post-mort. We got to say goodbye to them just last weekend. How do we feel about Pain Gaming's off-season? This ties in a little bit. We can do Pain Gaming first, and then we're going to go into off-season rumors, pause champ, as a whole. So for those in the know, I think RMC, you're probably best off going to go for Pain Gaming. What's general sentiment like in the Pain Gaming fan camp?
a couple of contracts are ending this split. So Wiser and B-Boy's contract and Dinkito's contracts coming up at the end of this
So
year.
a different, sorry, to frame it differently then. How do you feel Pain Gaming did this year?
Okay, so we'll start with that. I agree with whatever. I think this is actually the strongest Pain roster we've seen. I do think this roster beat any other roster that Pain has put before this, and it just sucks that the exist.
You're saying like in this in the post Robotones era.
I think they might have been.
Do you think this would beat that Robotinones BRTT Lucy lineup?
Yes, because I
Hope
love
so,
BRTT.
yeah.
Let me say this: BRTT was the guy who got me into CBLOL in the first place back in 2015. But by the end of it,
He was ass.
carried BRTT.
BRTT was garbage.
Tino's carried him. So that last bit, that roster, unfortunately, yeah, I think this Pain roster beats that roster because I think B-Boy and Pro Delta would have just duked over that bot lane and just taken over, and Robo and Tinos can carry through. We saw Wiser as well. If you give Wiser the isolated matchup against Robo, he actually holds his own. And I think if you have B-Boy Pro Delta against BRTT Lucy, they will draw enough pressure that Wiser gets that isolated lane. So I think they're the best roster ever put together. But like 404 said, you lose this many times, something's going to change. Something's going to blow. And like mentally, they are just blocked. So I think this roster, they did really well, but not good enough. And only winning matters. So I expect to see changes.
All right. And with that, it's a good point to mention that they have 3 contracts expiring: Wiser, Dinkedo, and Bevoy. General rumors that I've heard, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not as plugged into the Brazilian side as you guys are, is that Dinkedo seems the most likely to have a new home next split. Seems like Fluxu, like Kaboom, are allegedly interested in picking him up. I don't think we can discount INTZ either. They've already announced the fact that they've let their mid laner go, so there's like going to be a little bit of that going on as well. But yeah, so the 3 carries, the supporting staff are still there, Karaoke Pro Delta, but top, mid, and bots all have contracts expiring for Pain Gaming this split. In terms of where they go, what happens there, we can open the floor for Pain, and then I'll run through some others afterwards.
Yeah, so just to add on to that, Dinkido did post after the grand finals a tweet, thanking the fans and everything, which a lot of people are taking as almost like a farewell tweet. Whether it is or not, that's people's sort of idea.
Hey Dinkedo, slide in our DMs, let us know what's going on. We won't leak it, I promise.
He
man,
watches
we are
CBLOL
watching.
English.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Please
Talking
let us,
to you.
you want to let us know. Yeah, and immediately, right, Fluxu and Kaboom pretty much expressed interest in that. And I will say, I think Dinkido probably is going to be the biggest free agent this offseason. I think right now, Tinon's probably number 1 mid laner, Dinkido number 2 by a large margin. Sure, Lava might be in that question for me for like contesting Dinkido, but he's an import. Dinkido doesn't take up an import slot. So he probably is the highest value mid laner right now in CBLOL, except for Jino's, who I'm assuming isn't going to move. I could be wrong. His contract's up too, but assuming he doesn't, then Kato is probably the hottest.
So
How many more splits until Weiser becomes Brazilian?
1 or 2. He gets it next year. I just forget after split 1 or
split 1 or split 2. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there are only 2 confirmed changes so far. That is
Yes.
that Avenger has left Liberty and that Nosferus has left INTZ.
Yes, mid laners.
Lots of mid laners. Expect the good old CBLOL reshuffle to come through in a big
Mhm.
way.
Love the offseason.
The main rumors outside of Pain are that Fluxu are looking to change a lot. They have got Tay's contract expiring, but what we've been hearing and what we know of is that Tay is likely to stay on Fluxu, and that Disarmis, House, and Brunsey are all rumored to be either leaving or changing teams. No word on Jojo, expected to stay with the Fluxu lineup. And outside of that, there's a bit of interest from Los Grandes' side. They've expressed interest in Yampi and Chiari, so jungler from INTZ, top laner from Liberty. And like I say, outside of that, and the other part of that is that Natuno is probably not going to be a part of Los Grandes' next split.
Before we jump into the Natuno thing, because the Natuno thing, I think if you're talking Dinketo being the most prized free agent, Natuno, if it's like 1A, 1B.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And also to confirm, Weiser, by the time 2024 split 1 is over,
Mm-hmm.
he will have completed his 8 out of 8 necessary to be considered Brazilian. So by
Okay, so
2024 split 2, he will be Brazilian.
Okay.
Nice.
And all but at the time of recording, which is September 15th, Friday, the year of our Lord, 2023, Shini, the 2020 champion with INTZ, he is all but signed with Fluxu.
Yep.
That's like all but done and dusted. It apparently, again, according to Luis Santana of MyZ Sports at Shotana, or no, at Luis_Santana, I think. But he said it's like all he has to do is put pen to paper and it's basically done.
Yep.
And he's pretty reliable with this stuff.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm
but
excited for what
I think the mid-lane question is going to be really, really interesting because I think House, like that's the most fascinating thing to me because House, I think everyone would agree, has a lot to give still. That put in the right environment, potentially, right? His ceiling is so high. Who's going to give him that chance, right? Will it be Fluxu? Will it be another team, right? Will this dude just go scorched earth on, whatever team he ends up on, right? Does he end up on INTZ? Like, is there just like a triumvirate, like, Nosferus, Dinketo, House, just like I'll shuffle a team with those 3, right? I don't know.
maybe Avenger rejoins the big team. Maybe not after this split, but who knows?
Talking about that, let's talk about Fluxu because Fluxu, they have a big shuffle happening. We mentioned that Shini's potentially being signed for them in the jungle position. Howe said he's boot camping in Korea. It's important to note Fluxu has not confirmed that they're letting anybody go on their end. A lot of what we're hearing about Fluxu is more about people they are looking at. So they are looking at people, and I think that's lit a fire under House. They might just retain House if they can't get, say, Dinketo or an equally big signing. Technically, all their contracts are good till 2024, except for Tay in the top lane. Tay is ending this year, but Fluxu haven't been looking at the top laners for now. Jojo, they haven't been looking at supports as far as we can tell. Brunsey, it's more that Fluxu is looking at Los Grandes, which surprises me because I actually thought Brunsey was epic this split.
I think you'd be insane to let go of Brunsey.
Yeah. And the curious thing for me then is Brunsey the one who wants to get out of Fluxu?
And that again, like to me, that seems like maybe it'd be the only explanation because that seems somehow more logical than Fluxu deciding, no, we're gonna let you go. Because here's the thing, like again, this is like this is like not like no one said this officially, but this is all but confirmed. The reason that Brunsey didn't stay on Loud, right? His contract was up. Remember, he got called up from Academy in the middle of the year, so his contract ended, and he was a free agent, and he bet on himself. He said, no, I think I can make more money somewhere else. Fluxu were willing to give him a bigger bag than Loud was.
Yeah.
And now they have to buy out that bag? I don't know, but yeah, I think it'd be nuts. That bottom lane at its peak was like buy a non-zero margin the best bot lane in Brazil.
Yeah,
they're so young. And they're so young.
Specifically, quite a few bot laners said that was the hardest bot lane to deal with. I think B-Boy and Delta said like that was
Jojo's a
like
monster. He is like one of my favorite players in CBLOL. He's so good.
He is. No, he really is. I think with uh Brunsey too, the only question I would have is that he was the one that got picked in Game 5 of the series, right? He walked out and was just in
Yeah,
fog
but
of
I'm
war
gonna be
and ended up
honest.
getting
The
picked
series was
off.
already like that game was pretty heavily favored by the time that happened.
Um, so yeah, I think just dropping the ball like that right at the end might have given them some questions about just how far he can go in these big competitions. I have similar questions about Bvoy, to be honest, because as far as Bvoy carried it and how as consistent as he was, that last series from him, I think didn't look particularly
Oh,
good for Bvoy. Um, and I think that I would have
I
similar
mean,
questions
yeah.
about
Game
him
t- game
if
two,
I'm
he
Payne.
he messed up the all in and was tilted from then on. Like he messed it up specifically. Got hit by a Rakan W on Callista, like illegal behavior for a top level game, and
Yep.
was just gone from there.
okay.
Yeah.
I will give the Callisto game was bad, but I also do think that Payne screwed B-Boy. Like they didn't give him any resources. They were calling Pro Delta out from bot lane They called B-Boy out from lane in games 3 and games 4.
Yeah.
The game 3 one was fine because Weiser just popped off. But game 4, like they called B-Boy out of lane to go to a Herald, which did not need 5 people. And then B-Boy
Yeah.
came back like a level down, like 2 waves down to root. And so it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
like that's not a B-Boy.
And by the way, this is on the back of like Bvoy coming out of the regular split with exactly 0 solo kills, not because he's a bad player or anything,
Yeah.
but because they don't do that. They don't play that way.
Yep.
They don't send Pro Delta up or, shift Bvoy out of the pocket or anything like that. They always have Bvoy with resources with a friend, so he never has an opportunity to get solo kills. And they switching it up like that just totally crushed him. But also, I mean, hey, if you can't adapt like that, what questions does it raise that about you as a player? Like, are you able to adapt in these big competitions? How does that work when you get to international, beyond playoffs and stuff like that? So, I found myself asking those questions about a lot of players' hows as well. I feel really broke down when we got into the best of series too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you think there's a chance? Payne Brunson? If
I
Fluxu
think-
getting the tuna.
I think there's a chance.
Yeah.
I think there is a chance.
Yeah, it's non-zero for sure. There are definitely some
I would-
roster moves which are 0 chance, but this one's not that.
I think it would be. I would give that like a 20% chance of happening. Would it surprise me? Yes. Would it shock me? No.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just thinking, where would Brunson go if Fluxu pick up the tuna, right?
Yeah.
I
it'd be-
genuinely don't know.
It'd be Pain or Kaboom. If he leaves,
So
it's Pain or
if
Kaboom.
we look at this quickly, there's an interesting roster that could form, and it's Los Grandes. They could end up with, is it Yampi,
And Chiari is who they are looking at.
Yampi, Chiari, Dinkedo, Brunsey, Ranger.
Ooh.
I
Could
love
you
that
imagine
team.
the
That
Natuna
kinda
Brunsey
bangs, though.
just swap?
Yeah.
I love the brand of that team. I really
Mhm.
like that team's brand. I feel like Dunkato and Brunsey bring a lot of personality. That'd be like a roster that the camera loved, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, with Ranger,
Um,
come on, that roster's a content
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah, like there's gonna be a lot of fans of that roster, even if they go like 6th or something.
And
Um,
again, remember, Los Grandes aren't. Oh, so they've been in the League 2 splits, right? They joined at the start of
Yeah.
this split, or start of this year, excuse me. They were third regular season, split one, third
One
third
game away from
playoffs. Yeah, they came third in playoffs, one game away from finals in split one, and then like 8th out, right? Split two.
Mhm.
Their legacy in the CBLOL is still very much undefined, and I expect them to come in because they splashed a lot this split season as well, right? Like they made big moves that just didn't work. They bought Lava over from Homer Life Esports, who were a decent enough team in the LCK. They bought Coach Stardust. Oh yes, that's what I said. No LCK. Am I trolling?
You said Hanwha.
On rough.
It was Brion.
Oh, my bad. Either way,
Really?
they pull over like big Korean imports. They did a lot of stuff. Some of it just didn't work, right? They bought Trick back for Split 2. Didn't work, but they made a big move.
I forgot about Trick.
I
Oh my
think
gosh.
I wish I
Los
could.
Grandes wishes they could forget about it.
Loss
that's
has it.
all
Loss
right.
has it in them to pull out that roster, and I
I think
think
they do too.
they could surprise
The
us.
thing, though, is that if it is going to be Chiari, Yampi, Dinkedo, and then Brunsey Ranger, that's an all Brazilian roster, which
Mhm.
would be very interesting considering Los Grandes' claim to fame this year has been all big name Korean imports under Coach
Mhm.
Stardust.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I could see it happening, but if we're gonna change that much of the roster, I would almost expect them to change Coach Stardust as well.
Yeah.
If they go
Aoshi.
all
think-
Brazilian, I don't think
Yeah.
they'd keep. Oh, dude, if they poached Aoshi,
For those that don't know, Aoshi is like a fan favorite of ours. Honestly,
Yeah, we love
coach
that.
because
wise,
his biceps are the size of my
yeah,
thighs.
coach wise, I think Aoshi is just the CBLOL English's favorite coach.
Oh, wait, if we want
Yeah.
a coach for Los Grandes to go to Flamengo's spot, who better than Flanelista to be their coach?
Mm,
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
we are-
After signing that 1-day contract
Ugh.
with Payne, dude.
we're doing too much deep
He
diving.
broke the
We're doing-
12-0.
we're
He
definitely
broke
doing
the
too
12-0.
much.
That's all I'm saying.
Get your tinfoil hats out, folks. We have gone
my
fully into the
Yeah.
sphere right here.
Another thing on RMC's point about them like just suddenly raising the Brazilian flag and having an all Brazil roster too. One of the things we were doing when we were deciding like pronunciation guides at the start of the split is our producer Gachi was very quick to be like, by the way, Los Grandes is not Portuguese. That's not, those aren't Portuguese words. Like Grange is a Portuguese word, but Los is like fully Spanish.
Yeah.
So, them being like, hey, yeah, we got this Spanish name, I guess, and now we're
We'll
like,
do with it
super
what we want.
Brazil.
Yeah.
it'll be Os Grandes, right?
Yeah.
That would be pretty funny. Yeah, both of these teams. I'm just gonna continue. Sorry, both of the teams that came in this year, Los Grandes and Fluxu. Fluxu was this year too, right? Came out swinging. Big performances. Really good results. All that stuff. And for like Hank said, all speculation, but we think it's because they came in with a lot of money. Certainly more money than Rensga and maybe towards the end Flamengo had. And that wasn't really as successful as maybe what they spent for. So I think there will be a switch up of how they're operating a little bit more. Maybe it'll be a little bit smarter and less money. And also, I don't know if anybody mentioned yet, Kaboom was planning on like throwing a bag at this next split too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of
I was
wherever
gonna- to
they
me
got
that
that from.
yeah that proposed Los Grandes lineup that we were throwing around. To me, this is again just pure vibes. That smells more like a new Kaboom roster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that too.
I mean, if you can even get them, right? Let's not
Yeah,
forget
it's
Yampi.
completely theoretical.
Yeah,
But Kaboom, like,
Yampi's contract is ending, but there's
Yeah.
no news about him leaving
no,
just yet, right? And
no,
so,
yeah.
I
It's
think-
just that Kaboom are attached to I think exactly 0 people from this past split because of just how much of an unmitigated dumpster fire it was.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
them
I was gonna say
delivering, yeah.
contract-wise, they're still attached to everybody, but lonely.
Yes,
But
but
you're right. Emotionally,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, the one person I really would want to keep from that Kaboom roster is the one person whose contract is coming up.
Yeah.
Lonely, the top lane.
Maybe they
yeah.
keep Lonely, and that's like their import
Yeah.
slot, and then you're like, okay, cool, let's see what we can do.
I would
imagine
love for
this,
Scary to
like-
get into the shot though. Scary did really well. I think he
did.
deserves CB low level. Problem is, of course, if Kaboom wants like a big name roster, then it's unlikely Scary will stay on this roster. I hope somebody else picks him up though.
I also think it's important to give a context of Scary looked better than the 12th place jungler in CBLOL.
Yeah.
I don't know where we rank him to the rest of the CBLOL junglers is a different question, but he
11th.
definitely wasn't 12th, right? Like he definitely wasn't worse than his
Oh, he
predecessors.
was better than 11 Eno, so
Yeah. So okay, cool. He was.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So 10th. So 10th.
Exactly, right? Where you place him in the rest of CBLOL then becomes a different question. Do we have any more points, queries, questions on roster
Yeah.
moves? Go.
I'm so sorry. I should learn
Yeah.
to like talk
for
when
it.
everyone else is talking. I have 2 points. First is there's like this nightmare scenario where Lonely's contract is coming up and nobody wants him for some reason, so we lose one of the best top players in CBLOL. It so feels bad, and it's not gonna happen. Everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And then the second is a point about we work on rumors, right, in the off season and things that happen. But one of the things you can also work off is the negative space, right? The places where there aren't rumors. And I wanted to point that out really quickly. One of the teams I was super high on this split was Furia. As of right now,
True.
haven't heard anything about it. They're not
Not a
looking at
peep.
anybody. They're not looking to get rid of anybody. All their contracts are being retained. So as of right now, Furia are running it back, and that is what I'm here for, baby.
And they're making
Developing
playoffs.
Brazilian talent. It's gonna be great. Next split is a split for Furia. Mark my words.
yeah,
all I
that's
have.
true.
I would love
think
that.
them, Red and Kate Stars are the 3 which have no contracts expiring this split, and I think we haven't heard anything about
Yeah,
any-
no noise around those 3 teams yet. Yeah.
That's it. Actually, going off on that, Axe, that raises the question for INTZ because we're talking about developing teams. I thought the INTZ roster was really good. I'd love to see them develop, but we do know that Nosferus is gone from that roster. So, who do we think INTZ picks up for mid lane then? Because that is the spot they will 100% have to fill.
There are so many mid
Could it be
laners. I
Dinkedo?
think it's impossible to try and call which mid lane. Calling any part of mid lane is going to be impossible this whole split or this whole off season. I think.
If they wanted to get spicy, they could grab House.
Ooh.
I think that could be a really interesting fix. I feel like Nosferus was like House light, and maybe someone said that beforehand, but just like I guess there's two ways you could look at it. One, maybe you go get Dinkedo,
Mhm.
and I think that Dinkedo is a definite like floor raiser. But I think again, if you want like the ceiling,
Yeah.
maybe you go for House, right? The guy who has a little more agency, but I do think Dinkedo could operate better as a puppet master, right? I don't see House raising the level of the players around him. I think
'Cause-
on INTZ. So actually, I'm talking myself. I think the spicy one is House. I think the smarter choice is Dinkedo, because I think he has so much experience. He's got all these second place finishes. He has 2 titles in 2018. Like, I think Dinkedo would be a really good get for him.
So I'll admit I set up a trap there because if it is Dinkedo, and this is the point I was thinking, does INTZ just become Pain Light? You've got a Korean top laner. You've got a
Mhm.
team fighting AD carry. You've got Yampi, who arguably was an upgrade over Karaoke this split specifically, but in the past has been a very not proactive jungler. I don't know if that's going to be changing permanently. I hope it does. And if that's the case, is this not just Pain Gaming Light?
Yeah, maybe it's uninspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I'm there
Hot
for it.
take: INTZ and Liberty just swapped the mid laners.
Avenger.
If INTZ get, dude, I love Avenger. If INTZ think Avenger is the solution to their problems,
It's him. He's a
my brother in Christ, like
Hank,
He's
listen.
a
Hank, listen.
generational talent.
He's a generational talent.
Wow.
what generation?
What
Again,
generation?
I love the kid. I think he deserves another. Maybe not deserves another shot. He's gotten a couple. He's gotten high stake shots. He's gotten low stake shots. Wherever he ends up, I hope the best for him. But if I'm INTZ, what's the next step? No, it's not Avenger.
The guy who played Ezreal mid a bunch. Oh yeah, that's who we want.
That's Cross Steel, no?
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah.
But no, both.
I think they both
think
did. I think they both did,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, I remember there was the one game where I got
Avenger this
very
split. Like,
case in
Right.
point.
Okay. So
yeah.
we're running on a little long, which is fine. It's
Yeah,
last
it's
episode.
alright.
We're allowed to shoot the shit a little bit. This is good. But I do want to move us on to Twitter questions because I think these are going to spark a lot of discussion, debate, topics, etc. So we picked some of these out beforehand just to make sure that we're all good. We're going to start off with a nice and easy one. Smiles at the camera because he knows it's not nice and easy. This was from BaseOff13, who says, "Who's the faker of CBLOL?"
What? Oh man.
Still BRTT.
Do you want our opinion, or is this like what? Who is?
This is our
technically
opinion.
really
Yeah,
the
this is
faker?
our opinion.
Okay. Because
So should we define the faker?
It has to be Tinons.
Yeah,
But-
define the faker.
Yeah,
real
let's
quick.
define faker. Yeah.
Faker is
Best-
the
best
best,
we can.
the best of all time, the best player in my
That
eyes.
is an important part of faker. Yeah.
Best or greatest?
Okay, greatest.
Both.
Sure.
I think there's a
Both.
difference.
Yeah.
There
I think
is.
there's a difference because I think Faker for a lot of his career was not visibly the best. Again, and I say visibly because I do think that part of being good and is the stuff that Faker does behind the scenes because clearly he has an impact behind the scenes, right? It's that meme of the like the Master Splinter with the 4 baby Ninja Turtles, right?
Mhm.
That's Faker and
Yeah.
his little his T1 lights. The greatest of all time is still BRTT. But if you want to, I still think so because just longevity of career, every team he has gone to, like he's won a title.
So by extension of longevity of career, me and RMC were bagging on him for the end of his career just a little bit ago. Do you disagree?
No, and I was about to, no, and that's what I was about to say. And I think the distinction between greatest and best, because I think the greatest also has something to do with kind of this aura. I don't think Tinons has this aura about him
intangible
that BRTT does. And again, rightly or wrongly, this isn't about that. But I think if you want to talk about best, Tinons has, again, he has aged more gracefully than BRTT, right? Now, Tinons, I believe, actually, no, well, okay, and if I'm going to level this criticism at him, it's the same as BRTT. They have both gotten relegated, or at least decided to play in the second division. I forget if they got relegated or
Okay.
decided to play on a second division team. They've both been down there, so I guess it cancels out or whatever. But yeah, I think if you want to talk greatest, I still think it's BRTT. Just again, it's vibes.
I think
It's
as
Mumbo jumbo.
well, a part of Faker is the name as well. And you could not
Yeah.
look at any League of Legends for the last 10 years. You know BRTT over Double Lift. That is a Twitch chat staple. And if you're a league in any way associated with League of Legends, you also know, oh my god, Faker, what was that? They're on
Yep.
the same brand value, where I don't think Tinones has that going for him.
And that's not to slag the dude off. And I think some of it is just personality. BRTT has the personality of an like a thunderstorm, right?
Yeah.
Like Tinones, again, this is not anything bad on him. He is my favorite player ever. It's Tinones. When I got into CBLOL was what he did to Alliance with Kaboom.
Yeah.
Like I get emotional sometimes when I think about that too much if I've had too much to drink. Like BRTT, yeah, it's just a vibe. Like
I think it is
transcends
BRTT. Yeah.
He transcends Brazilian League of Legends.
And I
Yeah, he
guess this goes
does.
back to the definition of like what would you consider Faker? Right?
Yeah.
Because the problem is BRTT is where he is because of his personality, not because of necessarily his gameplay. Quite as much, at least on the international stage, to be fair, because Brazil has struggled internationally, whereas Faker is where he is because of what he does, like on the Rift and not off the Rift. That man was a robot before. Like it took him years to develop a personality. Like literally, I mean, there are documentaries, pardon me, about that. So I think Tinones is more similar to Faker, like strictly speaking. But if we're talking like sort of just the greatest of all time, then if we're looking domestically, it's probably to me either BRTD or even Ranger, because Ranger is still around, still playing, and Ranger also has the biggest following as Ranger Nation, right?
Yeah.
That's an honorable shout out. I don't think it's going to gain any traction.
Yeah,
No, I'm still on Tinones,
I like
Yeah.
I like that you threw it into the mix there, but yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that. I mean, he is called the GOAT for a reason.
Yeah.
The easiest answer to this question is that there's no one in the world like Faker. But that's kind of a cop out answer.
It's a very big cop out answer, and I didn't
Very
expect
big
that from
cop-out
you.
answer.
Brazilian Faker.
So well, there just isn't, man. I mean, he's the best in the world, and honestly, I think the biggest thing about Faker for me personally wasn't the greatness; it was the unbreakable bond between him and T1. How he like owned part of the company, and he was like big in the company or whatever. And was such a big leader, and just like RMC said too, without much of like a personal brand. It wasn't like he was coming out and like doing big flashy interviews or whatever, like camera loves him or anything. He's just so incredibly good, and so undeniable. I don't think there's anybody like that in Brazil, but if anybody's close, it's BRTT because of his work with Fluxu, being a content creator, being so
He's
involved
a boxer,
with the
he's
org.
a rapper.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about Faker is you need the dominance at the top. That's the biggest thing, most obvious thing. But you also need like this like kind of commitment to like lifelong commitment to esports too. And I think that's what BRTT what takes him over the line a little bit more than other players is that he's just still in it. Like even afterwards, he's still on Fluxu. He's still working with the team. He does. Like workshops with the team and stuff, and does little things with them, and is a leader, right? If you ask anybody on Fluxu right now about BRTT, like he's a leader. He's a guy we look up to and stuff like that. And I think that's what makes him Brazilian Faker for me.
Okay, so I've got a player who can fit 3 out of 4 of those criteria, Zach. I've got somebody who's sold his soul to a team, who's been around for a long time, and who's a leader on his team, but he has too big a personality.
Titan? Yeah, I like Titan.
Titan sold already.
Like
He's
Titan.
been around a long time. He's the oldest AD carry now, or most experienced AD carry in the league. And he raised up
He's
generations.
got 4 titles.
My single, I think, best counter argument to that is just ask anybody who they know. If you took a general census of the world population, BRTT over Titan every single day of the week, with regard to everything.
It's a good argument, though. I kind of like
it. It is. It's a great argument, RMC, but it's unfortunately completely smacked by the fact that BRTT exists and does everything better.
I really like about the Titan argument that it so well exemplifies the differences between LCK and on CBLOL that I've identified just in my very limited knowledge of LCK. And incredible bottomless knowledge of CBLOL. Is that there's so much more personality. There's so much more so
That's
much
much
more
more important.
bombastic, and so passionate. And that is the difference between Titan and Faker, is the passion, the screaming across the aisle, and all that stuff. And
I
of
don't think you could
course,
put two people on further ends of the spectrum as far as like
Mhm.
elite League of Legends players, like on the
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
much personality do you have? How showy are you? This isn't about one is not better than the other. Don't
yeah.
misconstrue this. Titan and Faker.
Yeah.
At either
Titan,
end of the scale, yeah.
in the middle of the split in a meaningless game against the INTZ, just jumping up and hurling just deeply personal obscenities that they had to just bleep out the whole damn thing at these players. God
And
love them.
then Nosferus led the team immediately after. It's like, oh my god.
Okay, we have like 3 more questions to go, so we're gonna move on. That took 10 minutes for us to
Oh,
decide
goodness.
BRTT. So this one comes from Super Brent, who, for those that aren't aware, is our resident CBLOL English Discord creator, moderator. So shout out to Super Brent first of all. But I think this is a really good question for us specifically as 4 of the 5 founding members of CBLOL English. And it is, when CBLOL English was still small and you weren't official yet, what were the things that inspired you to keep pushing through? How do you maintain confidence and avoid burnout? I want to take the lead for a little bit on this one, and go from the how do you maintain confidence and avoid burnout stage. None of us were ever burnt out. I can tell you that for a fact. We had two when we first started, so split 2 of 2021, maybe split 2 of 2020. I don't quite recall. It was one of those. Me
I think
for
it was I think it was 1 of 21 because the first meeting I had with Dia was I
Yeah.
remember in December of 2020.
1
I
of
remember that
21.
was.
Okay, thank you. Me, it was us 4 here plus Dia, and we had 5 people between 10 games a week. We didn't miss a single show that first week or that first split. I think in the total we ran the show for 5 splits and we missed 2 shows, I think, in
2, maybe
total.
I
3
was gonna
weeks,
say
yeah.
too, yeah.
I think we missed 2 shows. And again, reminder, we were free labor, right? None of us were getting paid for it. We were there for the love of CBLOL. It was a passion project. It's the best way we can put it. And I know I speak for all 5 of us when I say none of us were ever burnt out from CBLOL. Period. Because it was insane to watch, and really fun and really entertaining. And there's a couple of questions in the comments as well. It's like, why did you pick CBLOL? It ties into the same thing. We just loved watching it and never felt like work. They say when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. This was the best example, I think.
Yep.
So thank you, because that was my part that I wanted to hit on. If anybody's got any counterpoints, first of all, you're lying. Secondly, thank you. I'll repeat the first part of the question. What were the things that inspired you to keep pushing through? And I can open that up to anyone if that's like if the answer changes at all, which I don't know that it does, but just in case.
Yeah. So when CBL English was still small, I would say for the duration of us being an unofficial broadcast, we were pretty small. We were getting up into the triple digits, there towards the end.
We'd hit it for playoffs if we were lucky. I think the most part
Yeah.
we would hit 30 viewers regular season, 80 to 100 playoffs. Was
Yeah,
our
so the answer definitely isn't like we were doing it for our hordes of fans. Conversely, though, we did have like some regulars. Like we had regulars that we still have today.
Mhm.
Shout
And I
out to
think
the
part of
Cyan
it,
God.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, part of it for me
Really
was
super bad.
that idea that we could create something from the ground up, and people would like it and would come out and show out and spend their time with us every week. That certainly helped. Um, what were the things that inspired you to keep pushing through? Yeah, it was the guys that showed out and were fans.
I think
But for me, the biggest thing that kept me on track and kept me pushing through with this project was you guys. Getting to work with you guys was the biggest thing for me in my career. You had so many projects going on at the time that I never could have imagined I could be a part of. Even getting the first message from Dia was like a dream come true, because he was such an incredible caster in my eyes, even so many years ago.
Apex
getting
world
to
champion caster.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still like that carries through today too. By the way, like Rude being on the NLC, them flying out, Hank to do that thing, RMC, like the stuff you build that so many international casters use,
Yeah,
like
you are
in
just
the
the framework
world's
for
cast.
everything.
Is it like you guys are full on celebrities in my mind? There's a big spotlight on you in my head every time we interact. And getting to work with you guys absolutely pushes me through and has pushed me through for years now. It has maintained my confidence level like nothing else. And yeah, like Rude said, there was never any chance of burnout. I think the two shows that we canceled was genuinely because there were like 5 people sick on the same day or something like
I know
that.
one of
Um,
them. One of them was we were getting actual decent money to do other jobs, which in esports you kind of
You
have to
gotta
take. Um, me and RMC, we're both color casters. We missed one CBLOL show and it got filled, which was lucky. But we had one show together where we like alternated play by playing for a high school tournament. That was banger. It felt quite at home because it was a high school tournament, not as high elo games, but similar sort of vibes to the CBLOL. But that was one of them, and then I
I'm just
think the
saying,
other
they forgot to
was.
buy items, and Croc has done that. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah. The other was maybe just issues with illness. So like we had one
yeah.
we're either on holiday or ill, and then one people are actually getting the bag. So
Yeah.
the, only one actual show was missed for, I'd say, not legitimate reasons, but you know what I mean, like things that I wouldn't change.
Yep.
Illness is just unlucky, but maybe could have powered through. For me, one of the other things that I wanted to point out with this, it's like, what were the things that inspired you? I have like a life motto, which may be a little bit adjacent, but I feel like it was appropriate to why this inspired me or why this motivated me. Was if you make one person's day better, it's a successful day. It's just how I view a day-to-day life. If I make one person's day better, if I make somebody smile, anything like that, that's a good day for me. Every day we did the CBLOL, whether it was to 4 people, to 30 people, to 90 people. I knew that the stuff that I was doing was making them smile and it was giving them purpose on their day, and that's what pushed me through. That's what motivated me.
Hell yeah.
From my perspective, I'll say I'm a bit more selfish, I guess. To a very large extent, what inspired me to keep pushing through was just CBLOL itself. Like just watching CBLOL was really fun for me, and I just really enjoy talking about CBLOL. Like just parsing through the crazy things they do there. It just makes my day. And so to me, CBLOL English was never really work. It was, if anything, sort of the space where I could go and meet up with my friends and talk to my friends about a super fun region and league. And that's why I went like absolutely insane when I found out that we are going official. Because to me, it's like I get paid to do something
Yeah.
I absolutely want to do. Like I
Yeah.
cannot.
Because I
believe it.
think that's a really good like talking point of it, because it was none of us expected this as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 If you're looking for reasons why we kept going,
So
none of
far
it
down on that list
was
was
Yep.
because
right. I
we
gotta pick this
never
up.
dreamed until
Yep.
Yep.
until Kako and Tunis made that announcement of, hey, we're gonna make a CBLOL English broadcast. Literally until that moment, and even after that,
After that,
We
our
thought we were
chances.
gonna get axed when he
Yeah.
made that announcement.
yeah, we thought that was the
Yes.
death knell.
Yeah.
And so like the motivation was like, well, we're around for one more split. Let's make it a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Let's just have so much fun with this. Yeah. But until that moment, none of it was, oh, we could get official. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah. By the
Not at
way,
all.
That was
when
really
that
cool.
announcement came out, I remember posting in the Discord because everyone was talking like, this is the end. How should we wrap things up? I guess we got a lot of people to thank. Should we make a post on the
Yeah.
Twitter or something like
Yeah.
that? And I was like, hey guys, I know I just speak for me. I don't speak for the group or anything like that, but I'm gonna keep covering CBLOL. I know I can't do the cast or anything like that. Maybe I'll just make videos or something like that, or we'll do like a some kind of co-stream where I just put up the timer on the stream or whatever, and I'll watch it with 2 people or whatever. Because I just love it, man. I
Yeah.
just love CBL so much, and it was never about the money or like or anything like that. I don't think I touched on why CBL. I think everyone else has, but yeah, it's an incredible region. There's so much fun to be had here. The brands, the individual brands of the players, is something unlike anything I have ever seen, even in traditional sports where personal branding can be so important at the top. I mean, you look at some of the top guys in like traditional sports, and Their interviews are like just boring as all hell. I used to be a big NASCAR fan, and
Of
yeah,
course you were.
they're just getting nothing from the guys, right? I remember my favorite driver was always Tony Stewart, and it was just because he fought the most people after races. And it was just because he's the most exciting. He would spin people out and like hit them with the with the car, which is the best part, right? And yeah, that's why I love CBLOL, because Titan will stand up and be like,
He'll spin you out.
"Not Ferris, you loser, you piece of," and he's just not Ferris is just gone out of the team. It's like, oh my god, what?
Retired Nosferus.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's an incredible region, and it has never stopped being incredible. So that's why CBLOL.
What was the other half of the question again, Rude? Besides the Inspire bit?
How do you maintain confidence to avoid burnout?
You think I maintain confidence? Burnout. Okay, so you guys don't know this, but behind the scenes, I might come across as like very talkative and like I'm confident in what I'm saying. I'm confident because of my prep. That's one of the reasons why I prep so insanely much. I'm actually not very confident. I'm constantly referring to my notes, which is one of the good things about cast. If the camera's not showing me, you can't see me just scanning through my notes. But that's why I prep.
Once you go 2 monitors, you never go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%. 2 monitors and a phone. Burnout wise, I've been lucky enough not to burn out so far, at least not for CBLOL. But I have struggled sometimes in the NA scene and felt a little bit of burnout there. Personally, for me, when I start feeling burned out, I have to kind of clarify in my head what is work and what is for fun. If it's for work, burnout or not, you got to push through it and get it done. And then what I kind of do is I stop doing all the other like for fun stuff, things I'm not getting paid for, volunteer or whatnot, and just try and reset a little bit, create a little bit more space for myself. In For me, that has sometimes been actually just going to watch CBLOL or LJL or some of the minor regions to create that space and kind of reset mentally a little bit. But it doesn't have to be league related. In fact, a lot of people don't do league related things. Go out, touch grass, go play WoW, do TFT, whatever it takes to just kind of create a bit of space so that you can come back into it with a fresh set of eyes and lungs.
Yeah.
I think so. I think we tried to make everybody cry with this question. 4x4 though, I think would just succeed because he has the deepest connection to Brazil, and I don't think we gave him the chance to fully expound on why CBLOL for you specifically.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I mean, like for me, I mean, okay, well, yeah, we'll start. Actually,
Give people the lore. Give people the 4x4 lore so that it has context. We've got the time.
We're gonna end with why CBLOL. That wasn't a part of the question technically, so I'm gonna bullet point these, and then all right, what things inspired when we were still small, inspired to keep pushing through. I've been thinking about this answer as you guys have been talking. I don't know if I have a legitimate answer because it's gonna sound like a cop out, like, but it's what inspired me to keep going was it was just fun. Because like I said, like I have and I think all of us are blessed with the fact that like for money, we don't need this. Right, we didn't need CBLOL to go official, right? And we all have other sources of income, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
We are not all solely dependent on Riot Games, and so I think we're lucky in that sense, right? Because there's stuff out of our control as far as whether this is going to get officialized or not, whether this is going to grow or not. Like all we could do is show up and cast. But when it started to keep going was just that it was fun, right? Like RMC said, this was the fun part for me. This wasn't work yet. It was just fun, and I wanted to do the best because there are very few. I bring a lot of good qualities to the table in a lot of scenarios. One of my faults is that I tend towards laziness, and I can get complacent. And this, to me, is one of the few things where I don't feel that. Yeah. It's a very small number of things.
To give context to a little bit of this, 4x4 has been head of editing, head of social media, head of content production, this whole split. So pretty much anything that has been out on socials, on YouTube, anything like that, 80% of it has been 4x4. Podcasts.
He was the first guy to reach out to CBLOL.
Yeah.
The Mega Doc, 4x4 does that as well. It's not all me. Like 4x4 also goes over the Mega Doc, adds information, stuff like that too. So he does a lot.
Carry on.
And yes, I think when it was small, it was like, and once we started getting like a little bit of like, D-list celebrity status of like, oh, these guys are the CBLOL guys. Honestly, once my name was attached to that gave me a kick up the ass too, to be like, oh, like no, this is like, again, could I ever make money off this? God knows, right? Will anyone ever, will I ever be on a world's broadcast? It's out of my control. Like I don't know. Like all I can do is show up and be the best that I can be. But when it was attached to my name.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like a big thing that motivates me, one, spite, 100%. The best physical shape best physical shape I was ever in was after a really bad breakup. I got broken up with at the end of 2019 or 2018. 2019, I was a
Adonis.
I, y'all don't no. I was doing cardio.
Take off the shirt. We've got Patreon
I don't
content,
run.
boys.
No. It's all residual now. No, I was ripped. I was because it was spite and a fear of letting people down. And once my name was attached to it, and once like people started showing up regularly, right? Like the Cyan God, he's been there since day one.
Mm-hmm.
I was like if I don't like, and again, it also because Brazilian fans, they're some of the most passionate people on earth, and if they could see that you're embracing their thing, they will love you forever, regardless of how much you know about it. Like they're happy to tell you about their thing because they're obsessed with their thing, whatever their thing is. They're obsessed with it, and they want you to be obsessed with it. So if you show even a tinge of that, they're like, "Come here, like let me take you under my wing. Let me show you all this cool shit."
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that inspired me. That motivated me because I'm like, no, like and again, like, but then to go back to what we were saying was like that also part of my Brazilian connection. Like, I am okay genetically or whatever. I am as Brazilian as I'm American, but let's be real. I am more American than I am Brazilian. I've lived here the longest. I left Brazil when I was 5. Like, I still speak the language and I have a passport, and like half my family's down there, so like I'm still Brazilian. But again, let's not kid ourselves here. But and so it's a part of wanting to reconnect with that part of me because like yeah, like I grew up in a very toxic church environment, but that's a whole nother podcast. One of the things they said a bunch of bullshit that I was too young not to like
Just
question,
absorb.
and
Yeah.
peer pressure and all that good stuff. Thankfully, I'm free of that and I see the other side of it now. But like one of the things that did stick with me that the pastor said was, if you really, really, really love something, you will not be able to shut up about it. And that kind of resonated with about RMC was saying was like, this is a space where I can just like tell people about it. Right. And again, once other like world's casters started reaching out and being like, hey, do you know about CBLOL? I'm like, do I know about like, does the Pope shit in the woods? Of course I know about CBLOL. Like, let me
Does
tell you about it. I've got to
He
like,
does.
he does,
Oh, wow.
by the way. And like,
It's
I've
part of
got,
it.
yeah. And like, I can
Wow.
make people's like, I can introduce people to this thing that I love for so many reasons. Like, there are certain things in my life that I'm so passionate about it, like music, sports, esports. Talk your ear off about any of those things, and I want you to love it for your own reasons. And I think that CBLOL is such a beautiful thing because, again, it's not it's entertainment at the end of the day, and like these players are so passionate. Like, anyone can fall in love with this. If you love League of Legends, if you love sports, if you love competition, if you love big personality, if you love soap operas and telenovelas, you can fall in love with this region.
Yep.
I promise. There's something here for everybody. That's why I love it so much. How do I maintain confidence and avoid burnout? For me, again, I just got lucky as far as like avoiding burnout. This is just something that I love. I think if you're lucky enough to find a thing that you love and you can turn it into something that you can like, make a career out of, hold on to that shit. Because like RMC said, burnout will come. That makes it easier to overcome it. You don't have to push yourself as hard. You don't have to give yourself that root canal. How do I maintain confidence? It's half fake it till you make it, and it is half like
God, fake it till you make it. Yes.
it is half that, and half like honestly, just like again, that's something I was just kind of born with it, and again, and maybe it's because I grew up in the evangelical white American church, is that I have a very low sense of self, and so like I'm ready to seek out criticism, and so it was like I know that that I always have a lot to learn,
And I
and
think
so I actively seek out criticism and feedback.
something that we did really well as a team, even when we were unofficial, even now we're official, is feedback with each other. Look for what we can do to improve the product. Even when we were doing it for exposure books back in 2021, didn't care. It was how do we get better to make this more accessible to anyone.
Yeah.
The seeking out of improvement was a really big ethos for us, I think.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that question. That didn't take 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Shout
Had a lot to
out,
say.
shout out Super Bren, Bren614 on Twitter. We've got 2 more to go. So this
Good,
one
ready.
comes from Cesar Alf. I apologize. Cesar
The micro patch is going out in 15 minutes. I will be pulling up the client at that point. I will not sign off the podcast, but I will be pulling up the client.
Okay, we got our timer.
There's our timer.
Cesar Alf on Twitter says, I presume, are you guys enjoying this experience? What do you think about the future for CBLOL official casting or for what do you think about official casting for the future in CBLOL? Can it reach a big public? It's already reached a big public. Our finals
Yeah.
numbers were higher than I think any of us imagined. Our
I-
general
I
playoffs
can-
numbers were higher than any of us imagined. I think going into regular season, we hit probably about what we would have expected from having the from just having the Riot name associated with it, and the fact that it's
Mhm.
Brazil. I was expecting between 1 and 2K every stream. We about hit that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And towards the end, it was like 2 or 3K.
yeah, it was. It
It
was.
like 5
And then
cents
playoffs, it was its own thing. Playoffs
Yeah,
was
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I maintain about our results, and I'll try to say this as simply as I can. I think we did better than was expected, and I think that that caused the game plan to change a little bit over the course of the split. I think we have very different expectations and plans going into next year than we did going into this one. I think something that was so impressive and so surprising in such a positive way was the attitude that everybody on Riot BR's side had towards our broadcast and our broadcast team going into this. I mean, obviously, we already talked about we didn't think they would pick us up at all, but even once they had picked us up, it was all, we want to grow with you. We have all these things lined up that are going to be able to help you. We have resources, things we can do if these things go wrong, people we can bring in to help out. We actually ended up leaving a lot of those things, a lot of those contingencies on the table because we were just so good from the start. And so I think in that area we did exceed expectations. And exactly. And going into next split, I mean, it's onwards and upwards from here. I don't want to jump the gun too much. I think the attitude for me, from my experience, was I had watched a lot of projects, and these aren't from Riot Brazil, so I don't want to totally tape these up to them. I'd seen a lot of projects from Riot broadcast side that were one split and done. And that was something I was worried about going into this. There was I don't want to name through a bunch of them because people I like and people I love were part of those projects. I don't want to call them out or anything, but there was a lot of projects that were very short term and didn't end up picking up the traction they needed to continue. And that was a concern we had. I feel like because the question is what's next for CBLOL English, right?
Yeah.
I think we did get the traction. I think we did get the numbers that we needed to. I think we exceeded them even a little bit in some of the metrics, and I think we are very good going into 2024. And I don't have any details yet. Even if I did, I don't think I could share them. But I think things are going well.
To give a disclaimer, none of us speak on behalf of Riot Brazil. A couple of the questions that we've left out are because we really just can't speak to what is next. We are freelance commentators. We commentate on the scene. We love the region, but we can't comment on the plans of Riot. We are simply freelance. That ties into Axe's answer a little bit. And what do we think is next for the future of CBLOL casting in English? We actually just don't know. Fundamentally, we kind of have no idea. It's not up to us. We're just here for the ride. We're along for it. In terms of, are we enjoying the experience? Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Fun as hell, dude.
Overwhelmingly.
Can I just say as well,
Yeah.
one of the things that blows my mind the most being official now is we get to talk to players. I got
Yes,
to
that was the best part.
The host,
Yeah.
and I got to talk to Krastiel and Vital, and both of them were awesome people. When you guys are interviewing Payne, I remember saying if I had to interview Ninkito, I would probably just pass out on the spot. Man. Trying to talk to that man. When he popped into chat, I was already losing my mind. So
that's genuinely the best part. That's what we were missing as an unofficial product, was the connection to the players itself. That's been for me the best part of this whole thing, is that we have Sovchan on the ground in the studio giving us the energy of the state of the studio, and we have player interviews with us, with Yeso, who's probably just our best, strongest host. I'm not going to flame anyone here, but I think Yeso has been killing host for the entire duration that we've had him.
I'm not a host.
Every single time he pulls out a question, it is from the top drawer of questions that we should be asking. and
Yeah.
he gets the most from the players for the short time that we have them, which is the
Yep.
best part.
Yeah, as
to-
much I'll just echo that because I feel so strongly about it. And I've been wanting to say it for a long time. I don't like power ranking my colleagues. In fact, I don't do it as a rule. But adding Soph to the broadcast and the electricity, but also just like the in studio stuff too.
Mhm.
Her being in studio and like bringing that kind of native Brazilian energy and the presence to the broadcast was the single biggest value add we added to our broadcast the whole split long. And that's not to put her on a pedestal or put her above anything else, but it was so incredible. There was like a marked difference in how I felt about the broadcast when we added her onto it, because so many things about the broadcast this split made it more real. But having her in the studio, interviewing like cosplayers, I think was the cool thing
Yeah.
for me too. Interviewing somebody's parents at one point there, that brought such a connection to the people on the ground for me. And it was better than anything else we did. So if you're watching, Sophie, thank you so much.
Real quick to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing that when people asked me in Brazil when I was down there, they were like, "Oh, how's the experience been? Have you been enjoying it? Blah 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 blah." Like, when I was down there, I was like, "How are you liking Recife being down here?" I was like, "This is this is S tier. Like, this is the most fun I've had in a long time." But when I talk about like the broadcast itself, I say two things. Two examples I give are, one, again, like I have always loved helping people fall in love with things for their own reasons. I got I got my wife to be invested in the Detroit Lions, like just by like, but again, it's just like explaining kind of like off the field storylines and like, here's why I think you could care about this. And I love knowing the feeling of knowing something so well to where you can articulate things, knowing, again, someone else close in your life, where you say, okay, I know this person and here are things that I think they would like about this, and then you do that and they're like, wait, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, that is cool. Where they're asking like that, like, sex is great, but like, you ever done that? Like, that is an unbelievable feeling. I have never done hard drugs before, but if it's half as much fun as that, I understand the appeal. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
All I'm saying,
And-
for is I don't know if you're going to introduce this one to your wife.
She no, but like when she gave her like her confidence picks that one time, she was like, "Well, I've heard this name, and like has it like, well, this team, like, aren't they supposed to be really good?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, but the last 2 weeks they've kind of shit the bed." But like
You don't understand the history, Caroline.
the two examples I always give, one is people like Super Bren, this guy who literally, because the majority of our audience is still Brazilian,
Mhm.
and like that's great. Not thinking anything negative about that, but like the goal is to get it to a non-Brazilian audience.
Yeah.
Right. And so seeing the growth there and seeing people like Super Bren, who I talked to about Major League Soccer here in the States, right? That's how American he is. Right. And I think he like, I think he's a Tampa Bay Lightning fan as well as a Columbus Crew fan. This guy is, American, but he loves the CBLOL now because of what we did, because we made it accessible and we made it like we drew him in. And I think we did a good job of like doing storylines and, getting people interested for their own reasons. That's the example I give, is like one of our literal moderators, the guy who created the Discord, is American. Check. Right?
Yeah.
Mission at least partially accomplished. Two
Yeah.
is like, again, I've loved CBLOL for a long time because I'm Brazilian. And I've kept up with the region. And like a big motivating factor for me is tapping into that part of my heritage and feeling connected to that. But the thing I also give is like the coolest thing about this has been like, like RMC's been a pain in a CBLOL fan for a long, long time. So him like a little bit excluded from this, but is like, when we were still a volunteer broadcast, seeing everybody else be like, okay, I want to go here to like get reps and like, do some stuff and like keep myself fresh and, maybe have a VOD to show to somebody. And to anyone that did that for us, thank you. And, great. But seeing people like stick around because they're like, now wait, this is cool as shit. Like, this is fun. Like, these players are cool. This region is fun. And like falling in love with it for your own reasons.
CEO of that
really
arc is
just, like,
Trajan, just without
yes,
a doubt.
no,
Yeah.
100%. Like, is fully like
I
a
still remember
house
his first
stand
game,
was
man.
train team, like Axe just going all in on Renzga and Furia. Like, again, seeing people find things that they love. That's what I told people when they say, how have you liked doing the unofficial broadcast? And like, how did you keep going there? That's what I told the Brazilians. I said, it's getting other people, like watching other people who had no inherent reason, like me, unlike me, they had no reason to, but they fell in love with it anyway.
Mhm.
That's the coolest thing for me.
Tapped off.
Yeah.
Perfect. that's how we're
Yeah.
enjoying the CBLOL English experience.
Clip it and ship it.
Final question. This is from Silas, one of our CBLOL English mods, I
Hey.
believe.
Shout out Silas.
Shout out Silas.
My Corinthians.
How was this first official experience? What do you expect? We actually kind of touched on this. What do we expect from the next year? Again, this is one of those questions that we kind of can't speak to because we just don't know. Unfortunately, it's just we're going to hope for the best situation, and anything is good, right? Any news is good news. As long as we're still doing the broadcast, I don't see how this can be bad.
Yeah.
Period.
So we can't really talk about what can happen next year, but we can talk about like the frame that all that stuff occurs in, and like about esports at large. And I think there's a lot of comparisons we can draw between our broadcast and LPL English and the things they've gone through, but also again just esports at large here too, and like what esports broadcasters can expect when they talk about like, hey, what does the future hold? In NA this year, oh man, I gotta make sure I get these facts straight. There was a guy, and his name was Dash, and Dash was wildly popular, just so good at his job. Everyone loved Dash. He did so good. I think this was this year, and Riot, the LCS, decided to switch up the format a little bit, change things, how the LCS broadcasts operated a little bit more, and when all the cards fell on the table, Dash didn't have a job anymore.
They decided they
was
didn't need a
shocking to
host.
everybody.
Yeah.
They decided they didn't need a host, so that the position didn't exist anymore. So when we talk about like, you know, what does the future hold for esports broadcasters or anything like that, doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, doesn't matter, you know, what viewership you get, how many fans you have, how anybody would tell you that you belong there. It's never certain, right? And it certainly isn't certain for us here, though. But that's something as broadcasters we've built into our careers so often. I know certainly as color casters as well. If you're ever expecting a job, you're wrong. You're just wrong. So many people can do your job and can do your job 10 times better than you can at any given time as a color caster in LoL esports. And it's just something that you have to understand as part of the job. And I don't think it's any different here. I think we would all love to return to CBLOL English. We'd be over the moon to do it again. But you know, it's always in the back of our minds that hey, life goes on, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I do best.
And on the other side of the spectrum, of course, there's always still hope. We can always still.
Yeah, there's lots of hope.
Yeah. You know, it's only the first split of CBLOL English for us, and one thing is that we did have to kind of get used to doing everything remote with an official broadcast. There is plenty of space to grow still, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, we all of us have a lot of energy, all of us have a lot of ideas. Whether or not it can be done is the big question. But fingers crossed, hopefully, you know, as CBLOL English continues to expand, hopefully the things that we get to do, the things that we want to do, will also expand. Again, all of this is just our wants and desires as individual contractors.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to see what the new year brings for us. That's it. I am just going to shout out everybody here as well. If anybody wants to talk CBLOL or English, or you know, has ideas that you all want to do with us, most of us are pretty open. I think all our DMs are pretty much open.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to do so.
It's the off season, baby.
Yeah, true. It's
Yeah.
the opposite. So
We're
reach
all
out.
bored.
Yeah.
Please message us.
I mean, if you ever follow us on Twitter, you'll see how quickly most of us respond to messages as well.
Except for
We
me, and I
are-
apologize for that.
Yeah,
well,
right.
if 4x4 is the worst of us, that already tells you how good generally most of us is. Axe lives
Yes.
on Twitter, so like, you know,
I
reach
do
out
live
to
on
us.
Twitter.
We're more than happy to talk about things, and you know, just drop our opinions as well about CBLOL. So
I'll end it with this motivational message tweeted out by the head of MyZ Sports, again, a journalistic org down there, Eric Teixeira, tweeted out this. Seos, who is the winningest support in CBLOL history, he already went 0-14 in 2017 Split 2. He was on an abysmal team. If he can make it out of the muck, you cannot, because you are not Seos. Good night, everybody.
I'm not giving up because he never gave up.
Except
Why
maybe
do-
you should, because you are not Seos.
Mm-hmm. You're not
Or it might
Seos.
not be worth it.
I'm not sure if that's
But
going to act as the
now-
outro or not, but I'm going to do one
There's
for
no
for
hope.
strict answers just in case. Thank you to everybody for sitting through what has been 90 minutes of the final episode of Gringos Liberados.
That's it? I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, 94,
That's
94
it.
I think, on the dot. So
We
thank you,
did it.
thank you to everybody at home for tuning in. Be sure to check out if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to check out links in the description to our Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. If you're listening on any of our audio-only platforms.
And TikTok.
And
TikTok,
TikTok as well.
yeah.
Don't forget to follow the TikTok.
I made a TikTok.
Yeah, if you're listening on any of our audio-only platforms, thank you very much. Be sure to share this with your friends. Anybody who will enjoy League of Legends will enjoy listening to this one. And I also hope that you all enjoyed a little bit more of an insight into the more personal side that we gave this episode. I think this was a good opportunity for us to do it since we're closing the doors on Split 2 for 2023. With that all being said and done, we are now going to close out the podcast and wish you all a wonderful rest of your days, nights, evenings, mornings, wherever you are in the world. We hope you enjoy your time. Thank you very much and goodbye.